Game Blazers brings you today's fantasy football almost daily. It's where DFS, gaming, and collecting come together for a whole new way to play fantasy football. You can win your share of $750,000 in guaranteed prizes this season in free-to-play contests. Set your lineups now for week 2, and if you haven't signed up yet, there's still tons of cash to play for. Download and register today for your free starter pack, and if you want to put a little cash in there to get some items in your bank, use promo code FFAD when you make your first deposit for a match of up to $100. Build your ultimate fantasy team at Game Blazers. Fantasy Football Almost Daily also brought to you by Fanball. The Week 2 Fanball Winners contests are up right now on the Fanball mobile app. That includes the Thursday night Commanders-Packers matchup that's only $1 to play. Who will have more fantasy points, Jordan Love or Jaden Daniels? Which of the running backs will have the best night? Is it Bill? Is it Eckler? Maybe Josh Jacobs. How about the wide receivers? This one might be the toughest call. Terry McLaurin, Debo, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed. I don't know. And then there's the flex. It's Ertz, Noah Brown, Tucker Kraft, Romeo Dobbs. I just went through the whole thing with you. Just pick the winners of those 4 groups, and you split the pot with your fellow winners. There's $1 and $5 contests available for week 2 as well. Come pick the winners with us. Use the promo code ALMOST for a $20 deposit match for first-time Fanball Winners players. If you're listening or viewing this podcast on Thursday, which we're releasing it on Thursday, I did the Thursday night preview episode yesterday. So backtrack, listen to that before starting any of your Commanders or Packers tonight. Today, we dive deep into the Sunday slate for week 2 on Fanball. But first, it's time to kick things off with Less Than Jake.
From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
With me again today on Fantasy Football Almost Daily, if I add him to the stage, there he is. It's Trevor Jones, a man who soiled himself with delight last week after seeing Micah Parsons take like 15 snaps with the Packers defense.
It was mildly spiritual, it was just, disbelief. I still can't believe he's on the team.
You had a great week as a Packer fan. I had a great fourth quarter as a Viking fan where it finally seems like, oh my God, maybe we finally have a quarterback. And you're like, oh my God, maybe we finally have a defense. Oh, I can't wait till our 2 teams meet. That's going to be a blast.
Good.
Today, we're going to preview week 2 from a DFS perspective on the show. And while we generally use Fanball salaries and figures, most of this information can be used on any of the other salary cap sites. But before we do that, let's go around the league and look at some of the relevant NFL news.
News team, assemble!
Trevor, in our league upon the Sports Hub people, I saw that you just picked up Mac Jones on the news that Brock Purdy downgraded to doubtful, and it sounds like he's going to miss somewhere between 2 to 5 weeks right now. Mac Jones, soft landing spot this weekend against the Saints. Do you have Brock Purdy anywhere on any of your teams? And I see you've grabbed Mac Jones in one league. Have you grabbed him anywhere else?
Yeah, I went out and picked him up in every league that I could. Mostly 2 quarterback stuff. Obviously, 1 quarterback, he's probably irrelevant. But no, it's funny because this is the Mac Jones, Kyle Shanahan reunion, right? 4 years ago, this was my guy. Kyle Shanahan's guy was Mac Jones and John Lynch or somebody. And here it is 4 or 5 years later, and he's back on the team. So I don't know. I kind of think there's some upside here. And actually, we'll touch on Mac a little bit later, but I think he's worth picking up for sure, at least in 2 quarterback leagues.
Oh, a little preview of our DFS week 2 preview, I see. All right, we'll move on to the next couple of injury notes. Xavier Worthy looks like he's going to miss at least 2 weeks. The Chiefs are hopeful he'll be back in week 4 against Baltimore, and Cowboys cornerback Deron Bland set to miss a few weeks due to a right foot injury. I mean, both of those are actionable items, one on the offensive end and one on the defensive end. I'm going to talk about both of those things in my DFS favorite plays this week. Maybe you will too.
I was going to say, maybe we just keep moving because I also have some things to add.
All right.
from
we
these
won't
injuries.
step on our touchdown calls. Quinshon Judkins met with the NFL yesterday as part of their internal investigation. He might still play this week for the Browns. If he does, I think it's doomsday for Jerome Ford because Dylan Sampson really carved out the passing running back role in the Browns offense.
He did. Yeah, I was surprised that he came out of the gate just kind of as the RB1 over Jerome Ford. The Judkins, it sounds like week 2 is probably maybe a bit of a long shot, but definitely keep monitoring because he's going to be on the field soon, I bet, next few weeks.
If he's available in some leagues or somebody dropped him in one of your more casual leagues, I'd definitely pick him up and stash him on the lower part of my roster. And finally, on Thursday, the Packers signed Christian Watson to a 1-year contract extension. So I go to Trevor Jones at the Packers desk and simply ask, why?
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit weird too. I thought with the 2 receivers we drafted in this draft that we would just see Watson, Dobbs, Wicks, probably 2 of those 3 guys move on. So, I mean, he's got the skill set of the 6'5".
Too.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, the going rate for receivers, but it does feel like a lot for a guy who plays half the games.
All right. Yeah, I don't have Christian Watson anywhere, even on like IR stashed anywhere in any leagues, but evidently he's going to come back at some point, and the Packers think that he's a big part of their future. So there we go. But it's time to dig into week 2. We encourage you to go try out Fanball both on the web and the Fanball mobile app. Our salary cap games are web only right now, but coming to the mobile app pretty soon. And the mobile app houses our Fanball winners contests right now. There's a $1 Thursday night Commanders-Packers matchup. There's a lot of open spots in that one right now. So I would suggest if you got $1 in your League Safe or Fanball account, go make some picks because there's free guaranteed money to be had there. You can put it in for $1. That's fine. There's also a $1 Sunday Funday contest with a ton of superstars and a $5 Top Guns contest. That highlights some of the better players in the late Sunday games. But let's talk about our favorite and least favorite DFS plays this week. All right, the week 2 Sunday slate is affected by the Commanders and Packers playing on Thursday night, so they're not a part of this player pool. But there's also a Monday night doubleheader this week, which eliminates some fun rosters with the Bucks, Texans, Chargers, and Raiders. Especially some good options at the running back and wide receiver position. So I'm a little bummed that they're not in it this week. But let's start with a player that's going to be in close to half of all the lineups that you will make this week, Trevor. Who do you got as your big time squeeze this week?
So last week I started off saying I wouldn't play Christian McCaffrey anywhere, and this week I'm going to say I'm going to play Christian McCaffrey everywhere. So his price is still pretty reasonable. You get a slight discount off of him, or off of Derrick Henry and Saquon at the top. Only 7,500. He saw 31 touches last week against the Saints, and this was the Thursday calf scare, right? Thursday practice calf scare. That didn't worry them at all. Clearly. New Orleans gave up over 5 yards per carry to backs last week against, James Conner and Trey Benson are reasonable. Kittle is out. Purdy is out. It's going to be CMC. Like I see probably another 30 touches. And against the Saints, who are not a scary offense, the game should be close the whole time, allowing him to get, all the work he can handle.
I see I bumped my camera just a tiny little bit, and I'm no longer on camera anymore. So whatever. That's just for the video watching people. Audio people, we'll keep plugging away. My favorite start this week is another expensive guy. I've got Josh Allen at 7,600 that's what he is on Fanball, at least. He'll be in most or all of my Superflex lineups as he faces the Jets. All he did last week was 394 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 30 yards on the ground. He's getting a Jets defense that just allowed 244 and 4 to the 86-year-old Aaron Rodgers last week. In full games that Allen has played against the Jets, he scored at least 21 fantasy points in 11 of 12 contests. And the one that he didn't hit at least 21, he had 19. So the floor is set at mid-20s, and the upside is somewhere in the 40s. Could he hit 50? It's possible.
I've got Josh Allen in another category coming up as well. So that's good.
Oh, okay. Well, how about a player above 7,000 on FanBall that you would not put in any of your lineups this week?
Yeah, we're going to stick with the expensive running backs here. Bijan is 7,800 this week. So the Sunday night contest is part of the main slate on FanBall. It's a tough spot for Bijan, excuse me. I'm trying to get used to the new name.
Bijan.
Yep, Bijan Mustard. All right. So the Vikings' run defense was really good in Week 1, giving up just 3.1 yards per carry to backs against the Bears. Obviously, Bijan is much better than DeAndre Swift, but his offensive line is probably worse right now. Atlanta's on their third string right tackle. Drake London is also banged up, and I think sometimes we think, oh, Drake London's out, maybe Bijan gets some more work. I think with Drake London hurt, Mooney I think is coming back, but he's coming off an injury. You just want some guys to make sure this team scores 20 points. I'm just not sure that's going to happen in a tough environment in Minnesota on Sunday night.
I appreciate your love for the Vikings defense, Trevor, and I have love for them as well because Bijan was also my pick.
Hey, all right.
The only thing I'll add, it does look like London and Mooney are both going to play, but they're definitely not going to be 100%. I think with Bijan having 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown last week, I think that's his pathway to getting some points. And I think he's probably in the 15 to 20 fantasy point range still, but I don't think he's got the crazy upside that you need to pay for at $7,800. So I will also be avoiding him. All right, let's talk about our favorite quarterback picks of the week. I'll start this one. I already gave you Josh Allen, but here's another one. Jalen Hurts at 7,000. I think he's going to murder Kansas City this week and prove that the Super Bowl was not a fluke at all. Kansas City allowed 318 and 3 to Herbert last week, plus 32 yards on the ground. And even though Hurts probably won't get anywhere close to 300 passing yards, he only did that once last year. He's buoyed by a rushing touchdown in almost every game. He's had a rushing score in 14 of his last 19 games. And he's had as many multiple rushing score days in that span as days where he hasn't scored a rushing touchdown. He's got a better chance of getting you 2 rushing scores than 0. Yeah, the Chiefs basically gave up a significant rushing point total to every running quarterback they played last year. Lamar, Purdy, Allen, Russell Wilson, even Bo Nix. They all had days with at least 5 rushing fantasy points for a quarterback. So I like Jalen Hurts here. Who's your expensive guy?
Yeah, that's a good one. You already talked about him, Josh Allen. The only things I'll add, Jets are going to play a ton of man coverage with Aaron Glenn, which man coverage means we're not looking at the quarterback, right? So he's going to start running the ball. The last 2 times Josh Allen faced the Aaron Glenn Lions defense, he went for, these are just carries, 10, 78 and 1 and 11, 68 and 2. And again, never mind that this Jets defense just got destroyed by old man Rodgers.
Yeah, absolutely. For my budget pick, by the way, I was looking at my notes from last week and I totally whiffed on almost everything in this podcast last week. I was terrible at it. I had Tua last week and that was awful, but I'm not going to whiff this week on JJ McCarthy in his home debut for the Vikings. For some reason, the Fanball Wizard missed that McCarthy was awesome in the fourth quarter and the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, and they still priced him down at 5,400. And if you just take the most recent sample that we have from McCarthy, the fourth quarter of that game, he's on pace for 6,800 passing yards, 136 passing touchdowns, another 1,700 yards on the ground, and 68 rushing scores. He's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time, clearly. Okay, no. So I know that if my camera was on, you'd see the JJ McCarthy jersey behind me, and I'm a Vikings fan, but I'm not a lunatic here. But he played really well in that fourth quarter, and something seemed to click after that pick 6. And he gets a Falcons defense that's simply not as good as the Bears defense was. They gave up 3 passing scores to Baker Mayfield last week, and Baker added 39 rushing yards in that game. Passing scores, rushing yards, rushing scores. That's what drive fantasy production for quarterbacks. I'll take McCarthy on the cheap all day.
I like that. I liked the McCarthy run call was excellent at the end of the fourth there. It's like, oh yeah, he is a good athlete, not just a.
Oh yeah.
It was good timing on that one. So actually, yeah, I'm going back to the well here. Mac Jones again. So in the 2 games Purdy missed last year, we got 1 game of Josh Dobbs, who went for 326 and 2 touchdowns, and then Brandon Allen was the other starter. And I actually remember this game because this was they played the Packers this week, and that guy was, peace and love to his family, but that's tough. So even that guy though, 200 passing yards and a touchdown. I just think he's the cheapest quarterback on the slate. He's in an offense that's going to prop him up to be whatever the best version of Mac Jones is at this point in his career. This is the situation to give him that chance. And he's going to get 3 or 4 games here. I think he's so cheap. You just don't want to overthink this.
Yeah, that's true. What was his price again? I missed that part.
He's a flat 5K minimum. So.
Okay. So only 400 less than JJ McCarthy though. Ooh. Kind of like both. I wouldn't mind building a Niners and Vikings stack on one of these fan ball lineups with the super flex option here. Let's go to the running back. My expensive pick was Chase Brown at 6,600 versus Jacksonville. Brown got every single carry in the Bengals backfield last week, at all 21 of them. No other back had a rush. Samaje Perine caught 2 balls out of the backfield, but that was it. Now, he only had 43 yards. He did get a touchdown, but this usage is something that gives you that crazy hockey stick upside. The Jags only gave up 109 total yards to the Panthers backs last week and a score, but Brown is better than Chuba Hubbard and that cast of characters in Carolina. All of that goes to Brown. 109-1 is the floor here for Chase Brown with a huge ceiling.
It's a great call because that's also the number or the player I had.
Oh, there we go.
I had most of the same stats as you. The only other one I throw in there is he's averaging over 23 touches over his last 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like 10, 11, 12 games of evidence that they're just going to ride this guy, right? It doesn't matter if there's 2, 3 running backs active. This guy's getting all of the work, all of the pass down, all of the goal line, third down. It's just, and at 6,600, what's he, probably 6th or 7th most expensive on the slate at running back? It's a good one.
Yeah, he only comes off the field when he needs a sip of Gatorade.
Right.
My budget pick is the running back opposite Chase Brown in this game, and it's Travis Etienne at 5,300 versus the Bengals. Etienne got 19 touches last week, notched 156 total yards, and that was enough for the Jags to go, bye, Tank Bigsby. We're trading you. Of his 19 touches, 3 of them were receptions, and that's where the Bengals were dinged in a major way last week. Dylan Sampson had 8 receptions on 8 targets. Jerome Ford added another catch, so 9 times out of the backfield there. And while the Bengals held the Browns in check running the ball, their defense really didn't improve this offseason, and they're coming off a year where they tied for the 5th most rushing touchdowns allowed to opposing backs. Trevor, who you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to that. You mentioned him just now, Dylan Sampson.
You want to talk to Sampson?
I do. So he out-touched Jerome Ford last week, 20-7, which, for a week 1 rookie, that says how much they believe in him, I think. Yeah, he had the 8 targets. Cleveland is the biggest underdog of the week by like a mile at 11.5 to Baltimore. I think there's going to be a lot of garbage time, and clearly guys like Sampson, Njoku, Harold Fannin should be the beneficiaries. I will say, too, I would only play Sampson if Judkins is confirmed to be out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Although I think Sampson probably is the lead back, even if Judkins is in this week, since he's been in camp the whole time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure.
All right, on the wide receiver side, my expensive pick is Justin Jefferson, 7,800 versus Atlanta. And I think there's some hangover still on Justin Jefferson and everybody being a little careful. So I think his ownership percentage is going to be pretty low. People still think that JJ McCarthy is going to hold Jefferson back. And while he only had 44 yards and a score last week, I feel like you can take advantage of this. Last week, the Falcons saw Emeka Egbuka just call his shot in the huddle on the game-winning touchdown. He's like, I'm going to run this post route. You're going to hit me. I'm going to score. We're going to win the game. And then he did it. Easy to do against Vikings cast-off Mike Hughes, Billy Bowman, AJ Terrell, who's not as good as advertised. None of them can hold a candle to JJ's talent. It's So I think it's going to be a JJ to JJ stack on a couple of fanball lineups and some internals for me.
Yeah, a JJ to JJ start in Superflex is kind of nice.
Yep.
Gives you a lot of room for activities too.
It sure does. I love activities.
So I also went near the top of to the top of the food chain at the receiver market here. Jamar Chase, 8K. So Jamar Chase, fantasy's number one pick before the season, all that, and then he shows up week 1 with 2 for 26.
Yeah.
Last year, so everyone's going to be burned, right? So last year, he only had 2 games with 4 or fewer catches. Each of the games following those duds, he went 6, 118 and 2, and 10, 193 and 2.
Oh,
I think this is just an easy, the ownership's going to be 10% lower than it should be. Play the guy who's amazing.
They're going to
also against the Jaguars. It's the highest total game on the slate. It's just home run spot.
Love it. And they said they're going to play Travis Hunter quite a few more snaps on the defensive side. I believe he only had 8 snaps defensively last week. So they might try to deploy him just to stop Chase and Higgins this week. I don't know if it'll work though.
Yeah, good luck.
My budget pick, I actually have 2 and I couldn't choose between them. And let me know if I'm trampling either of yours so we don't go too far. I have Hollywood Brown.
Yep.
You got him. I'll let you have him. And then my guy was Kayshon Boutte at 4,000. I'll let you talk Hollywood, but Boutte, super interesting at 4,000. He led the team in routes run and targets in week 1. Top 20 in air yards in the NFL. Had 6 catches for 103. And he's facing the Dolphins' 4 cornerbacks who played last week, and they kind of split evenly. Those corners had a minimum passer rating against of 92. And the worst one was Storm Duck, who had a perfect passer rating in his coverage. So kind of like Kayshon Boutte this week.
Those Dolphins corners must have faced a really good corner last week, or a quarterback. Do you remember?
It was Holmes, Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. Okay. Huh. Yeah, no, that's a good call. That Dolphins entire team is maybe on life support. So yeah, I'll go with Hollywood Brown here. It's just kind of an easy. I don't really need to tell you a whole lot about this. This is the same situation we had last year with no Xavier Worthy, no Rashee Rice. So now it's just Hollywood Brown. That's kind of all we got left. 16 targets last week.
Targets.
Crazy. It's just for under 5K, a guy who's a lock for probably 8 targets with Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback. Don't overthink it. This is you could put him in the 50% of lineups along with CMC, honestly.
Yeah, I actually think that the Chiefs are going to be trailing in most of this game too. So it could be a pass forward role for the entire offense in this one. So I love that Hollywood Brown pick.
I think the Chiefs are a home dog this week for the first time in years.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous that his roster percentage will just be too high, and you might just want to fade him. And if you want the sneaky play, maybe it's Juju, who's going to be the other wide receiver available.
Man. You know, like Tyquan Thornton?
Not really. All right. Tight end plays. My expensive pick is no expensive pick. I don't like any of the expensive tight ends this week. I'm giving you 2, and I'm going to take the more expensive of the cheap ones. That's Jonnu Smith at 4,300 versus Seattle. Seahawks allowed 2 tight end touchdowns last week, and Arthur Smith loves Jonnu Smith, mostly because they're cousins, and they also hung out in Tennessee together for years when Arthur Smith was the OC there. Last week, Jonnu had 6 Aaron Rodgers targets. He caught 5 of them. Only 15 yards, but did get a touchdown in there. But it was twice as many targets as Pat Freiermuth. So I think Jonnu is the second option in the receiving game in Pittsburgh.
And like you said, Arthur Smith loves him. The touchdown they scored was one of those just pop passes, right? It's just they're scheming stuff up for him, which is what they did in Atlanta when Arthur Smith was there too. So yeah, it's a really good call.
And what they did in Tennessee when they were together.
And what they'll do at, the Jets or wherever he ends up.
I got to get my cousin the ball.
So I just went straight to the top here. There's no George Kittle this week, unfortunately. Bowers is on the Monday night slate. So it's Trey McBride, 6,100. Yeah. Like you said, I don't love it, but he's the guy that if you're looking for that 25 to 30 point upside, it's kind of just him. He still saw 9 targets last week. He's seen double-digit targets in 7 of his last 8 games to finish out 2024. Still waiting on that touchdown regression to hit, right? So no touchdowns through week 1. So let's not go another 16 weeks this time. Carolina's a great matchup too. They just allowed Brent Strange, the Jags tight end, to lead that team in receiving yardage. The Cards have the 6th highest team total of the week, actually, at 25. So if there's a time for Trey McBride to score, man, it's got to be this week, doesn't it?
It's got to be. I mean, my issue is everybody going to be on Trey McBride this week? Is his ownership percentage going to be through the roof? Because 6,100's not crazy expensive in the fan ball slate. So it feels like people are just going to blindly pick McBride and throw him in there.
And like we kind of talked about, maybe the other tight end, the other top tight ends are just, they're either off the slate, they're injured, or they just don't have the upside that this guy has.
Yeah. All right. My budget pick at tight end is Hunter Henry, 3,700 versus Miami in that terrible defense. Last week, Henry had 8 targets, 4 catches, 66 yards. The Dolphins couldn't find Tyler Warren last week. He just dominated them in his debut. He had 9 targets, 7 catches, and 76 yards. I think what he did last week is a very safe floor, 4 for 66, and that's 10 fan ball points at $3,700. But you have that touchdown upside there. And if you can get to 16 to 20 points with Hunter Henry at 3,700, suddenly you're looking like a game-winning lineup.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I went kind of similar range, Harold Fannin, 3,600.
Darling of the waiver wire pickups this week.
Yeah. So this guy was a monster in college. I don't know if you've seen his receiving stats. His senior year, he went 117, 1,555 yards and 10 touchdowns. For a MAC team, that has like an NFL player, that guy is getting like triple covered every play. That he was still able to put up these numbers is kind of crazy. He's just a weird player too. He kind of runs like a duck. He's kind of got the pigeon toe feet. He's just a weird looking player.
Got a weird number.
Yeah, but it wasn't he didn't like eat it to David Njoku's snaps. David Njoku still played like 85% of the snaps. So clearly they just think this guy is like juicy and on a team that needs some oomph, right? Cedric Tillman, we're just kind of like, this guy's got some real pop. So 3,600, 6-7 targets. Again, like you said with Hunter Henry, you need 5 catches, 50 yards, and coin flip it a touchdown.
All right. Okay, we'll go back to you. Who's your deep sleeper that you like this week?
So I think this is the 3rd round I'm going to mention. And it's Cedric Tillman.
No.
So he's also a 3,600. Bunch of targets last week. This Browns offense is going to throw the ball a lot. Whether we're winning, whether we're losing, we're going to throw it a lot. Last week was
you're a we now? You're part of the Browns offense now? You've adopted them as your AFC team?
No. I'm not going to go that far.
Okay.
But so even last week, in a matchup where the game was virtually tied the entire time, the Browns threw the ball, or Flacco had 45 attempts compared to only 24 carries.
Jesus.
It's just, it's crazy, right? For, to have Flacco, that guy, and just be like, let's send him some volume, let's get some 45, 50 out there. Yeah. So again, all these Browns are cheap, right? Fannon's 3,600, Tillman's 36, and Sampson is 45. Now, I wouldn't play 3 of these guys together. That's insane. But you can play 2 of them together and kind of fill out the rest of your lineup with stars.
I'm kind of shocked that you didn't have Joe Flacco as your cheap quarterback of the week. I mean, if you're gonna do half of these Browns, I mean, you got to put a Browns stack together.
Well, I did Joe Flacco last week for my cheap quarterback. I didn't want to. I don't know if we can do it every single week.
You can toot your horn on that one. Oh wait, here, I'll toot it for you. That's
kind of a
sad horn, but yeah. Oh well. How about this one?
Okay, I like it.
That's better. All right, my deep sleeper is Wan'Dale Robinson, 3,500 at Dallas. Malik Neighbors was targeted 13 times last week. Wan'Dale was targeted 8, and the rest of the Giants wide receivers combined for 1 target. So Wan'Dale's the only other show in town besides Malik Neighbors, clearly the second option for that offense, and that offense needs to get going fast. And I mentioned earlier that Deron Bland out for the Cowboys this week and maybe the next couple. The Cowboys did a good job shutting down A.J. Brown last week on the perimeter, and that's kind of the Neighbors role. But it left Jahan Dotson open for a few times, and he ended up with 3 catches and 59 yards, including one of the more exciting plays in that Thursday night opener. So I think Wan'Dale's kind of a sneaky cheap play this week.
Yeah, that's good. And they're just kind of running out of bodies there too, right? It's like Colton Malik and it's Wandale.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Nothing else. Do you have an overall strategy that you like this week for your fan ball lineup? Are you going to try for double stacks? Are you going to do any naked quarterbacks at the super flex position or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I'll probably end up with at least one expensive quarterback. And then I'll probably have a couple of these Browns that are going to make it so it's just stars and scrubs again, where you can fit in a Chase and not Bajan, who's the CMC, some of the more expensive guys you need.
How did your stars and scrubs
Browns.
aspect go last week for you?
That's a good
Were
question.
you one pathetic loser, or did you win a couple bucks here and there?
I won a couple bucks, but it
There
wasn't.
we go. Good job. Good job by
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And normally I'm kind of a guy who likes to start 2 tight ends to go for like that stars and scrubs thing. This is a week where I think that there's enough cheap tight end plays that I think that that's a viable strategy. And if you go with any of the tight end plays that we had, like Jonnu or Hunter Henry or Fannin, you can go with 2 of those guys and suddenly you have so much money to play with on your roster. And it's a sneaky way to build some huge upside on your roster there.
Do you have a lineup that you like for this week, Matt?
I don't know if I can. I haven't really built one yet. Did you put up our internal yet, Trevor?
I did. I do have a lineup build.
What's your lineup? I'll hear it.
Yeah, so we got kind of a fun mix of characters here. So start off with Mac Jones and Christian McCaffrey. Play Sampson are the running back spot. Hollywood, Chase, JSN at the flex. He had just a zillion targets last week.
He did. I saw his utilization score was like the highest in the league last week for eligible players.
57% target share or something.
Yeah,
just insane.
So that's focused on him.
I guess. And then we got Trey McBride, tight end, flex. We'll throw Ted McMillan out again. Hopefully that goes a little better. And then Josh Allen with the second super flex spot.
That's a beefy lineup right there. I like that one a lot. I wanted to take a look real quick, and I'll throw it up on the screen here. The Fanball Sunday 5x5 options, and there's quite a few interesting ones in this lineup. It's only late games this week again, but it leaves you with some tasty options like the Eagles, Chiefs, Vikings, Falcons, and a few other teams out there. In the 5x5, I'll remind you pick 5 players with no positional requirements, and there's 5 $5 players, 5 $4 players, all the way down to 1. And if you're watching at home, you can see it on the screen. Here's this week's player pool. Trevor, who do you kind of have earmarked here? And I see Bijan at $5. He's a guy I'm skipping, but we talked about a few of these guys. You like McBride at $4? Do you like JJ McCarthy and a Justin Jefferson stack here at 3 and 5 together?
So this week I'd probably go with a stack. I actually like starting with Bryce and Tet and just being like, hey, there's my zeros. Let's get them out of the way.
Okay.
And then you can bring that back with like Kyler.
They're both $1 there, so you can
bring that back with if you want to stack Kyler and Trey, and I think you still have enough for another $4 or $5 player. But I think my laps are going to revolve around the Carolina stack this week.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that Barkley and Hurts are going to be pretty under-owned in this one. Kind of like that angle there a little bit. And I don't know. Jonathan Taylor, maybe. I think he's going to be almost completely under-owned in this one.
Yeah, that's a good call. And actually, AJ Brown at $3, like, man, that's nice. I mean, that's a $5 player, like 95% of the time, right? It's just a really good slate.
Yeah, there's some options out there. Michael Penix down in the $2 range, and Daniel Jones. Some cheap quarterbacks there that should put up some decent production. I always like the quarterbacks at the cheap end in the 5x5 game too.
Can you play only quarterbacks? Could you go
You
Bryce,
can play all
Jones,
quarterbacks,
Penix, Nix? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That actually, maybe that's the play. Just go 5 quarterbacks.
Go Hurts, Mahomes, Nix, Penix, and Bryce Young. 5 quarterbacks there.
That actually, I might just do that just to say I did it once.
Just to mess around. Okay, Now we got to put up an internal 5x5 so we can play it too. But you can go play it on fanball.com right now. It's available for you to play. I think it's $5 entry. I think 200 to the winner in that one. So available right now on fanball.com. And I'll just say a reminder for our friends who have tried out Game Blazers. Primetime packs are on sale now for the week 2 Primetime Pyro contest. Plus, franchise packs are available for a limited time over at Game Blazers, which gives you one of those franchise items that makes you able to keep that item forever and ever. Isn't that fun? Don't forget to use promo code FFAD for a $100 deposit match only at Game Blazers. Trevor, thank you for joining today. Anything else you want to leave us on? What's your prediction for the Packer game on Thursday night?
Ooh, I did take, I think, 3.5 Packers. I'll say 24-17.
Okay. It feels to me like Jaden Daniels is the type of quarterback that is kind of handpicked to beat the Packers.
I just don't know if they have any other good players.
Wow. Terry McLaurin is weeping right now. Deebo Samuel off a really good week last week. I don't know.
So 3 good players? Okay.
Man, this guy is just full of his team right now.
Oh, it's
riding high, chest puffed out. Here we go. All right. Thank you for joining Fantasy Football Almost Daily. We'll see you tomorrow, maybe.